Good afternoon, and welcome, everybody. Welcome to our graduates and your family and friends. Parents, how many of you are parents? Raise your hands. Isn't it great? I have to tell you, last year my daughter graduated from USC, and we didn't have this moment. So really, you should feel fortunate. This is just great to see everybody and to be able to celebrate the class of 2022. Graduates, wave. The fact that we can gather here together to celebrate this milestone safely just really articulates the strength of our community, the advances of the science, and the fact that our mission to promote healthy aging for diverse individuals, communities, and societies is so important. This pandemic has been a challenge for everyone, but more than anybody, senior citizens. So we've persevered through COVID, and we're charting the path forward. So it's a beautiful day in Southern California, and I want to point out the fountain over here, which is called Generations. And it's dedicated to all Trojan families and their legacies, and really signifies everything that we stand for. The sculpture and its message perfectly illustrates the commitment that we have for healthy living and intergenerational connections. So today, I have the pleasure of saying the words that I was fortunate to say every year since I started as dean a decade ago. And it was always true, and I hope it will continue to be true. The class of 2022 is our largest graduating class ever, which will be exceeded by next year's class, hopefully. So each of you has not just invested in a degree, you've invested in making life better for people of all ages. As a group, you represent the future of the field. Among you is our first cohort of our Senior Living Hospitality Program. Wave. A remarkable new degree which has prepared you for leadership roles in this industry, and I'm confident that you will transform senior living as we know it. To our bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degree graduates, I know you will continue the school traditions of service, innovation, and success. I want to thank all of our faculty here. This distinguished faculty have taught you to advocate for age-friendly policies and services, to advance discoveries in disease prevention, health promotion, and drug discovery, and to address injustice and inequity wherever you see it. Imparting these lessons will become your legacy, and I look forward to living in the future you create for all of us. And they say aging is universal. I've learned aging is also personal. and there's two lessons that I've learned. One, I woke up this morning with a touch of sciatica, only to open my literature stream that comes every day and hear that ibuprofen is no longer recommended for back pain because it only increases the chance of getting chronic back pain. So I'm standing in front of you hoping to have a drink later on, but that's about it. So you will excuse me if I have to sit down during the ceremony. Also, I know aging is personal to me because the one thing that happened to me over the last decade is that I realized all of you graduates are getting taller every year. Part of it is people are getting taller. Part of it is those unbelievable heels. And part of it is that I'm getting shorter. So all of these things make it a real meaningful thing to me. So before I continue the ceremony, I want to thank a number of people who deserve a special mention. First, I want to congratulate again Eileen Crimmins, who was recently elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, the most prestigious scientific academy of all. Congratulations, Eileen. Also, there's somebody that really deserves acknowledgement, and you all know her really well. It's Senior Associate Dean Maria Henke. There isn't a single person sitting here today whose life wasn't touched by Dean Henke. Her endless efforts and energy made it possible for all of you to receive your degrees. And finally, it's a great pleasure to single out an individual who embodies the legacy of the UC Leonard Davis School, and whose research, teaching, and mentorship has informed our understanding of the biology of aging and impacted generations of students, faculty, and colleagues at our school and across the university and around the world. Our esteemed Executive Vice Dean and Distinguished Professor, Dr. Kelvin Davis, is retiring this year. After more than 30 years at USC, this will be his last commencement ceremony. He and his wife, Joanna, herself a valued adjunct professor at our school, are literally planning to sail off into the sunset. But before he goes, I want to invite him to share a few words with us. Thank you, Kelvin, for everything you've done for me personally as Vice Dean and for the school in general. We are in awe of your achievements. This hug has been approved by the Public Health Committee of USC.
A little bird told me that this was going to happen, and that little bird is the very well-dressed Dean Maria Henke over there. So she gave me the chance to make a few prepared notes. It's very generous of Chassi to say such nice things about me, and I'm grateful for all the opportunities and wonderful interactions I've had at USC and the Leonard Davis School. I have a few years on Chassi, so I've had more of the aches and pains, perhaps, than he has so far. Although I didn't initially want to get involved in administration one more time, Chassi convinced me to become Executive Vice Dean, and I must say that it's been a pleasure working with him and our whole executive team. This school boasts the most amazing faculty, and it's been a privilege and a pleasure for me to have been one of your number. Thank you, all of you, for letting me be with you. My whole life has been in academia, or as my children like to say, Dad, you just never left school. To those of you who are considering a career in academia, be you a recipient of a PhD degree today, or one of our newly minted bachelor's or master's degree recipients, I would say you could find fewer better choices for an occupation. Chassi mentioned that I'm a sailor, and one of the most amazing things about sailing is that every time you take off on a sailboat, throw off your mooring lines, you could take off into the wild blue yonder and not come back. You don't actually always have to do that, but just knowing that you could do it is an amazing feeling of freedom. In a similar vein, having run a biochemistry and molecular biology lab for the last 40+ years, I've always enjoyed the freedom of knowing I could change research goals and directions at any time, and I've actually done that on several occasions. What other job allows you such autonomy to explore? I've been very lucky that my research has been rewarded with several major awards and medals, fellowships of learned societies, honorary degrees from other universities, and even a knighthood from the President of France. The university saw fit to make me a distinguished professor, and upon retirement, they'll make me emeritus. As wonderful as all that is, however, my interactions with students, faculty, and staff have been amongst the most rewarding aspects of my career. Over the years, I've built a scientific family with dozens of former students, postdocs, and staff who have remained important people in my life long after they left the lab. I also have an international cadre of scientific friends from every continent in the world with whom I'm as close as my friends in Los Angeles. As I come to the end of this chapter in my life and transition to emeritus status, I'm keen to pass on to this next generation the wonderful opportunities that academia represents. If you love exploration and discovery, if you'd like to contribute to advancing human knowledge, if you'd like the freedom to follow your own dreams, and if you'd like to enhance the education of future generations, you may want to consider the life of a university professor. For myself, I'm keen to have more time for writing novels. I've written 1.5 so far, but I find I need more time for immersive concentration. I'm also co-writing a history of the field of redox biology and medicine. In other endeavors, I plan on trying to become at least a moderately proficient violin player. I've been a pretty bad musician so far. And some of my time will be devoted to volunteer work. And of course, I plan on lots more time for sailing. In other words, the adventure continues, just on a slightly different tack. Thank you all.
And now I'd like to invite Lois Angelo, SGA President, to give a few words.
What an unnecessarily hot but weirdly appropriate day to have graduation. Good afternoon, friends, parents, family, staff, faculty, and of course, the class of 2022. Congratulations are certainly in order, and I'm truly humbled and honored to be speaking to you all at this celebration of your success. Gerontology is a fairly new and, for lack of a better term, young field, a bit ironic, but has made incredible strides and gains in recent decades. That being said, I'm sure you have all heard this before, but we are not certainly getting any younger. I always like to say to the new students who come to the school that this school of gerontology is the best in the world, to which I'm often met with the response, even by my parents, that we're the only gerontology school in the world, which, by the way, is not true. There are some departments across the world, so let's not get that mixed up. Regardless, that sentiment of excellence still holds because of all of you. You continue to push the boundaries in the field of aging, from navigating online curriculum during the COVID period to drastically improving the lives of older adults through world-class research. With such a diverse and powerful set of experiences, I have no doubt that you all will popularize and amplify gerontology throughout the world for decades to come. There's so much to learn and understand about the later stages of the human lifespan, not only to benefit today's group of older adults, but to also set the foundation for what older age will, or rather should, look like for generations to come. And that's why you're here. Former Keck Dean Laura Mosqueda perfectly describes, in my opinion, what this field is all about. She says that geriatrics is not what you think when you think of a heroic specialty. So it just doesn't have the same kind of oomph or excitement that other specialties do. But once you get in there and you do some house calls and you meet some people who are 90 to 100 years old and hear their stories, that's very exciting. It is exactly this, sharing stories and lessons of the past, along with caring for some of the most vulnerable members of our society today. That is the heart and soul of gerontology. But it is not that older people are even vulnerable in our eyes, but rather valuable, just like each and every one of you. You recognized that value and took up a calling to understand a complicated yet universal process, one that all things experience every day. Even now, especially amid the pandemic, gerontology has become a focal point as we try to find new ways to assist older adults in our homes and in our local communities. As you go off to what a lot of undergrads refer to as this quote-unquote real world, know that you have already learned and studied the realest part of it, aging. You all will make a very active and important effort to make the world a much more exciting and better place to age in. So before I hand it off to a much more important and celebrated speaker who is actually graduating today, I ask that you remember 3 things as you celebrate with your friends and family. 1, remember the lessons you learned in your time at USC, from those in the Zoom rooms that you shared with other people, in the classroom, lab, hallways, living spaces, club meetings, and apply those lessons to the work you do and the decisions that you make in the future. Remember, too, that the gerontology and Trojan family at large, all those who are here today, will support you and have your back through thick and thin. And third, finally, remember that the Leonard Davis School of Gerontology has the best catering on campus, hands down, no questions asked. So if you haven't tried it, I'll see you at the alumni dinner next year. A lot of thank yous to go around as well, especially from the student body and the Student Gerontology Association. Sarah, Jim, also Jim, Michael, Kurt, Stephen, the faculty who are all behind me, Dean Cohen, and especially Dean Henke. Thank you all for all that you do, and thank you for being you and supporting this school through all of its endeavors. Class of 2022, again, a sincere congratulations to you all. You have left big shoes for the class of 2023 and the classes afterwards to fill. Stay safe, be proud of yourselves, and as you'll probably hear maybe just once or twice today, fight on. Thank you.
I now have the honor of introducing this year's commencement speaker, Jacqueline DuPont. Jackie is an esteemed alumna. She earned her master's degree in public administration from USC in '94, a master's in gerontology in '97, an EDD from USC in '21, all that on top of a PhD in psychology. In addition to being a triple degree Trojan, she's a valued member of our Board of Counselors. Jackie has built a career serving older adults and the Alzheimer's community. She is the founder of Assured In-Home Care and numerous memory care facilities. Among her service on many boards and nonprofits, Jackie is currently on her 6th term of service on the Board of Alzheimer's of Orange County. She's also the current chairwoman of the Board of Directors for the Illumination Foundation, which works to disrupt the cycle of homelessness, and serves on the board of Wells of Life, a nonprofit providing clean water all over rural Uganda. Jackie embodies 2 tenets of gerontology: a commitment to generativity, giving back to future generations, and a pursuit of lifelong learning, 4 degrees. Jackie and her husband, Mark Carlson, who is with us here today as well, recently established an endowed scholarship. See, people are saying yes, at the Lerner Davis School. Thank you for that. Her upcoming book, The Cottage, All the Ways We Say Goodbye, will be available soon. I'm looking forward to reading it. Her generosity, service, and scholarships make her a true inspiration, and I'm honored to welcome her to speak to the class of 2022. Jackie, where are you? There you are. What a thrill, what a thrill. Thank you, thank you.
You're kidding me? Thank you, and thank you, Dean Hankey. I promise I won't go over time. She reminded me. I'm humbled to be your speaker today. I, of course, thank esteemed Dean Cohen, our Associate Dean David Eshapor. He needs to get thanked every now and then. And the most fabulous gerontology faculty in the world, including Dr. Walsh, who is probably worn out his stay with me. He's been my thesis advisor, my dissertation advisor. He's amazing, and I wouldn't be here today without Dr. Walsh. So thank you, and thank you to all of you. Dr. Wilbur, oh my gosh, it's just so amazing to be back here. And our alumni, and of course you, the successful graduates of the class of 2022. It's just amazing to be back. We are at the first and the finest Leonard Davis School of Gerontology. Don't forget that. I love that. A big shout out I want to give to my little friend who's so sweet, Alex Firestone. She's even graduating right here. And we are neighbors, and I can't believe it. She's probably so embarrassed I'm up here, but I love her mom. Thank you, graduates. And please, right now, turn to your family and friends and thank them for supporting you while you're on this journey. Because you're at the greatest school in the country, and without them, I don't know if you'd be here. So please thank them. So many commencement speeches. Yes, big, big thank you to all of you. They debate these, you know, if you go on YouTube, you can see so many of them. They usually debate cleverness and kindness, you know, jobs, everyone. However, I don't have to focus on any of those attributes today, because of the very fact that you have chosen gerontology gives me an indication that you are ethical and kind individuals. There is no ageism in this crowd, and if there was, one of you would spot it and denounce it. I started out here too with desire in my heart to serve older adults in my career, but I too had to leave this incredible, comfortable, and supportive culture. On my graduation day, I had no idea what I wanted to do as an occupation, but I knew I wanted to help older adults. My first job was a director of an Alzheimer's unit in a chain of nursing homes. And I soon figured out that compassion alone does not cut it. It does not solve problems. As my yaya would say, that's grandma in Greek, by the way, don't be a problem solver, a problem announcer. Oh my gosh, she's turning over in her grave. Don't be a problem announcer, be a problem solver. My grandparents were everything to me, as I'm sure yours are. They were Greek immigrants, and they worked very hard. And even though my grandfather only had an 8th grade education, he was the wisest man I've ever met. The two of them taught me the following: the basics of problem solving, the belief that hard work and lifelong learning, as we just heard, is essential, and the most importantly is that giving back was the key to true intrinsic success. There's a lot of chaos in our ever-changing, tech-obsessed world. It's constant. Yet we all need to remember to pause and think about simple daily problems that could improve someone's life, especially if you work in the field of aging. You are all clever. You're brilliant, or you would not be graduating from the USC School of Gerontology. It is a gift to be smart, but it's an even greater asset to be a compassionate problem solver. That is cleverness and compassion combined. But why? Because to solve daily problems that our older adults are facing today, we must think critically. Former Secretary of State Colin Powell said that transformational leadership is truly all about problem solving. It distinguishes a marginal typical manager from a true leader. From ageism, discrimination based solely on someone's age, to caring for older adults experiencing depression, dementia, delirium, such as Dr. Knight taught me many years ago. I don't think he's still here, but he was an amazing psychology professor. He was really big on differentiating between those three. We must critically problem solve the issues our older adults are facing. So I want to tell you how in my career over the last 30 years, which is, I know I'm getting up there, I learned that problem solving and advocating for seniors who often needed help was always the right thing to do in every situation. So back in 1996, I know it's a long time ago, I decided after my job with that nursing home chain, I was compelled to do even more due to an experience that changed my life. I had witnessed elder abuse. A resident reported to me he was raped by a nurse who worked the night shift. We later found out that the nurse raped many older adults, and it was a horrific situation. The nurse admitted the crime, and after numerous reports and legal court dates, I had to leave the job and really contemplate, did I make a mistake? Choosing this field, was it right? Why did I ever put myself in this situation? Well, I turned to my yaya and papu again, and this time my grandfather gave me the best advice. He said, Eno, that means listen, stop one. Eno, listen, life is 10% of what you make it, Jackie, and it's 90% of how you take it. Gerontology will help you in your whole life. The lessons you will learn and the patience you will display will carry you throughout life. It may be caring for me one day, or one of our parents, or your parents. It may be caring for others who won't even thank you. Either way, walking away from a field you love will not solve a problem, and you will regret it. After leaving that job and the trauma it gave me, I had the impetus to start my own company and potentially decrease the possibility of this tragedy from ever happening again. I started a small memory care facility with my brother, an elder law attorney, and this was way back again in '96, so I was about 26 years young. The first item on my agenda was to install the best camera monitoring surveillance system in the bedrooms of residents. Rapes do not occur in facilities in the living room. Luckily, my cousin was a camera expert, and he installed cameras in every bedroom to prevent and deter potential abusers from working at my new memory care cottage and harming anyone. Families and residents loved the cameras. Staff loved the cameras, as it protected them from either false accusations or misplaced delusions. And many potential employees did not work for me. They would not sign the consent. But the state of California did not love it, and the administrative courts and the legal courts did not love it. and either did the ACLU or my competitors. But I knew in my heart, in order to advocate and in my mind solve the problem, I had to stand up for the rights of those who could not report or protect themselves. I had to fight hard and long to win the battle and debate of privacy versus safety. And it was quite complex, as you can imagine. But in the end, the families, residents, and I were able to become the first facility in the country, with consent, of course, to camera monitor residents for safety in their bedrooms. Word spread fast, and I could not buy property fast enough after this for expansion, mainly due to the fact that we had the cameras and we had the safety and the monitoring. We even had a lot of abuse cases, sadly, because they had really nowhere to go that could protect them. We realized the camera footage was helpful and even resulted sometimes with the terminating of staff who, even on camera, did not give the care that was aligned with our mission and vision. But video footage also showed compassionate, loving care that so many staff and caregivers and nurses gave while working with a resident, especially with difficult behaviors. They remained calm and kind. Being an advocate is thankless, but the intrinsic motivation and gratification you receive from fighting for someone is enormous, and it showed on film. President John F. Kennedy said, "Our problems are man-made, therefore they can be solved by man," or woman, by the way. Yes, abuse, ageism, health equity problems, and more exist in the field of aging. But it's up to us to advocate, and you, the class of 2022, to be thoughtful advocates and solve so many problems for someone vulnerable. The future of our older adults is really in your hands, and we're lucky to have you on our team. Yaya was a role model for me as a lifelong learner, too. Even though English was her second language, she was always taking college classes throughout her life. She even obtained a degree at 59. Now, I know the last thing on your mind is more degrees. You probably don't want to hear that. Well, once you're rested, please contemplate the ongoing pursuit of knowledge. Be curious. Jillian, a recent Notre Dame graduate, came to me a few years ago contemplating a master's degree in stem cell medicine at USC. I guess she finally got it right, haha, leaving the Fighting Irish for a better opportunity at USC. But seriously, Jillian wanted to enter the medical device field, and she was debating this master's degree. She asked me for advice, and I told her, well, you can compare it to a mid-sized car, which was, I know, about $40,000 at the time, and I know you want one. It would be nice, but it's the same price as that master's degree tuition. The car will be fun for a year, but as soon as you drive off the lot, devaluation occurs, as we all know. Well, maybe not now. The master's degree will be with you for your whole life, and it will improve your own quality of life and your self-worth forever. Jillian got it. She completed her master's degree at USC and then took a job with a medical device company in Santa Monica. And soon the company, believe it or not, within 6 months, went public. IPO. She cashed around $1 million in stock. Most of you would say that's luck. But it's not. It was hard work, grit, and preparation. She went to graduate school, and that all resulted in success. Let's all find those potential IPOs, right? I've been in graduate school most of my life, and thanks to Dr. Walsh, I'm here, because I value the reward of knowledge and curiosity. Be a lifelong learner, and please return back to USC, because they have the most amazing graduate programs, as evidence. Papu and Yaya's advice to give back to someone vulnerable, or they would say less fortunate, is something that's always stayed with me too. At age 12, I became a nursing home volunteer, and I've served on a lot of boards. However, I always felt so fortunate to daily work in a field like aging and gerontology, where it felt like every day was a volunteer day. That's how good you feel working with older adults. The field is so fulfilling. You cannot compare it to anything else. Your friends will all start saying, I'm bored, I don't like my job, I'm not fulfilled. And then you get to say, oh my gosh, I changed someone's life today. I helped a family, I helped a resident. It's amazing. So Yaya would say, and this was her long-term advice to me, when you volunteer or do charity work, you meet the most amazing people. Jackasses do not volunteer, Jackie. Okay, Yaya. I have met the most diverse and kind friends from all areas of the world just by volunteering. Yaya was right. There are no jerks volunteering their time and giving back. I know all of you will compassionately give back to the field of aging. Do not forget to give back and volunteer as a Trojan alumni, as there are no jackasses at USC. So in summary, give back, problem solve, be a lifelong learner, and don't be a jackass. Fight on. Congratulations, class of 2022.
Jackie, you're not done. Oh, I'm not? So the highest honor that a dean can bestow on someone is the Dean's Medallion, which you're getting today. If I can actually have my own act together here. So this is it.
Thank you.
And it's equivalent to about 2 degrees.
Oh, thank you. More for my lifelong learning.
There you go.
Oh, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You're so kind. Thank you.
This goes with it. It's now time to recognize our graduates of our undergraduate programs. And I believe we're going to start reading their names. Have the yellow cards coming?
Minor in Science, Health, and Aging. Narek Kalitcha. Bachelor of Science in Human Development and Aging. Anna Forrester Danko. Sarah Elmershot. Aliyah Farahi. Alexandra Firestone. Kelly Coe. Christine Lee. Hannah Rose Wolstein. Bachelor of Science in Lifespan Health. John Paulo Dionisio. Kelsey Hawkins. Kevin Shimoda Lee. Master of Long-Term Care Administration, Chin Chao. Master of Arts in Aging Services Management, Lourdes Regina Bustamante. Yisong Chen. Xinyi Cheng. Guanchun Jiao. Qingying Li. Xiao Liang. Han Xie Liu. Jianbo Luo. Carolyn O'Connell. Samkine Okwego. Yanni Marks. Claudia Salzar. Ming Chen Wang. Xiaohan Zhu. Shihan Yan. Jiayu Yang. Haozhe Zhang. Zichu Zhang. Master of Arts in Senior Living Hospitality, Jason Ball. Mark Reisman. Yang Xue Li. Shu Wei Ru Yao. Yang Wang. Master of Science in Nutrition, Health Span, and Longevity. Carly Alvarez. Romana Brennan. Amiki Bribiescas Page. Rachel Farnan. Dion M. Fleming. Hannah Freed. Jessica Harrison. Paige Havens. Jamie Irene Kessler. Stephanie Marr. Marissa Menderler. Anna Nuking Chun. Alana Nelson. Chad Peterson. Devin Ramnarain. Hannah Riley. Lily Valentine Reisinger. Rob Ciabanis. Nicholas Zarati. Janet Chow. Master of Arts in Medical Gerontology. Julia Dorado. Nicholas Esquivel. Jessica Haddad. Nafisa Olopade. Danielle Lauren Thibodeau. Shu Fang Xing. Yu Yin. Hanya Marisol Hudek. Master of Arts in Gerontology. Zoriana Benhamu. Darnell Marie Cox. Yan Jun Dong. Stephanie Gellenson. Mickey Law. Ling Meng. Beth A. Muller. Jagruti Asher Paleja. Natasha Reyes. Ariel Tsue Lee. Luyan Yang. Marcella Zarifis. Master of Science in Gerontology. Teresa Adams. Brett Elizabeth Anderson. Jumana Abdul Jalil Bach. Diana Alejandra Bonilla. Bai Yu Chen. Jia Chui. Ryan Doi Lu. Megan Rose Elliott. Jennifer Goldberg. Arthi Jaiswal. Shiwin Hu. Hong Jiang. Chiu Kang. Rita Lily Karayan. Antai Lee. Junyi Lee. Yu Ching Lee. Three Ting Lin. Chong Liao. Zhao Rui Ma. Tiffany Marie Morris Holm. Jenny Nakhan Win. McKenna Ortiz. Matthew Fan. Julie Pollard. Jin Chu. Jacqueline Seymour. Jingwei Xue. Yingrong Xue. Yu Yao Sun. Nicole Kimberly Chakralaksana. Julie Banru Wang. Gong Yi Nan Wang. Mano Wang. Yingang Wang. Xingru Xia. Xiaowen Yang. Xingting Yu. Nikki Zhang. Zhihui Wang. Zhehao Zheng. Jingyi Zong. Irene Wang. Doctor of Philosophy in Gerontology. In Young Che.
They got it wrong. We're going to do speeches.
You're going to do a speech?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we come now to the awarding of doctoral degrees. And the traditions of academic doctoral degree regalia, the caps, the gowns, the hoods, have a long and fascinating history that dates back to as early as the 12th century, and even before that to the Druids who wore gowns as well. They were also worn by scholars in Europe and have then come across to this country. There are colors that signify various faculties, and they've only been developed and standardized much later in this country. For example, green for medical sciences, gold and yellow standing for science, research, and other colors for other areas. At the doctoral level, the regalia consists of a gown with a 5-inch stripe down the middle, two of them, with long sleeves, puffy sleeves, and 3 stripes on the arms. The velvet trim indicates the degree and academic discipline of the graduate. Some, as you've seen, the undergraduates and master's degree students all have black gowns. Some schools choose other colors for their doctoral students. Harvard, for example, has crimson, and USC has cardinal, but the wrong way around. If I could ask the doctoral degree candidates to stand up for a moment and show off their regalia, and there's some more over there as well. Thank you. So you'll see them all in their cardinal and gold. There are always at least 2 colors of the hood, and they reflect both the subject that was studied as well as the institution that conferred the doctoral degree. The Doctor of Philosophy PhD degree is the highest earned academic degree offered by universities. Upon completion of a rigorous course of study beyond the bachelor's degree, followed by independent and original research that represents a significant advance in human knowledge, a process that takes an average of 5 years, a PhD candidate becomes eligible to become a Doctor of Philosophy. We signify that achievement by having the student's mentor or a close faculty member place the Doctor of Philosophy hood over their head in a ceremony that's united scholars since the Middle Ages. At the Leonard Davis School, we offer 2 Doctor of Philosophy programs, a PhD in gerontology and a PhD in the biology of aging. Our school created the first gerontology PhD program in the world in 1989 and unveiled the first ever biology of aging PhD program in 2014. The PhD is our crown jewel, the highest degree you can achieve in gerontology anywhere. At the Leonard Davis School, we attract top students from around the globe, balancing rigorous high-level research training with leadership skills and scientific knowledge. Graduates from our PhD programs enter the workforce with superb skills and experience. It's now my pleasure to introduce Professor Elizabeth Zelinsky, Director of the Gerontology PhD program here. And Liz will describe the program and introduce our first graduate today. Liz?
If you are wondering, I am not related to that guy in Ukraine. It's a good question. We haven't done our 23andMe yet, it's true. So our program started 34 years ago, and until today, we had 84 graduates. And now, as of today, we have 89 plus. So our degree represents the complex interdisciplinary field of gerontology, where students learn to integrate knowledge and research in the core areas of psychology, sociology, health, and policy in aging. They develop expertise in their own interest areas and learn to analyze data and develop basic and applied research programs. Over the 4 to 5 years they are with us, students complete benchmarks, including a written and oral qualifying examination, in order to be admitted to PhD candidacy. They develop an independent research program that evolves into their doctoral dissertation, and then they defend their dissertation in a public oral examination. On the way, they apprentice with faculty mentors, present papers at professional meetings, publish journal articles, learn how to teach, and demonstrate leadership in professional organizations like the Gerontological Society of America. You'll hear a little about the research that each of our graduates has completed in order to receive their PhD. So now it is my pleasure to introduce Eunyoung Choi. Where is she? Tim, you can come closer, it's okay. All right. Enough, that's far enough. So she came here 4 years ago to work on people's perceptions of their own aging. What's that? Think about, I'm going to give you a few examples so you can figure it out for yourself. So think on a scale of 1 to 5, you disagree completely, or 5, you agree completely. Here's a statement. The older I get, the more I have had to stop doing things that I like. Or getting older has brought with it many things I don't like. Or the older I get, the more useless I feel. All right, have you thought about that? You got some numbers for me? All right. Now, here's some other questions. How much do you agree or disagree with these? So far, I'm satisfied with the way I am aging. I'm as happy now as I was when I was younger. And as I get older, things are better than I thought they would be. If you agreed the first 3 statements and disagreed with the second 3, you might have a negative perception of aging. We don't want that. We want you to have a positive perception. I'm going to tell you why. So perceptions are more positive if people are healthier, if they're women, no surprise there, or they're more educated. But what Eunyoung did was to take those findings and study how environment is related to these self-perceptions of aging. So what she found was that people who live in neighborly neighborhoods had better perceptions of their aging than those who were in less friendly neighborhoods. In fact, people in their 50s and 60s were more affected by that value of neighborliness than 70 and 80-year-olds, which suggests that maybe those older people, they were already there, they didn't worry about it anymore. And a second study she did show that people who lived in less neighborly areas were more likely to be lonely. So it's really important that we have neighborhoods where people are welcoming and get involved with each other. So bottom line is this. Environment is important, and it affects our psychological and health states. Want a couple other things about Eunyoung before the hook comes from me. She's committed to helping other international students get their moorings in the United States, as well as at USC, and now in the Gerontological Society of America. And in between, she's published 32 journal articles since arriving here at USC, 8 a year. But she's primary author. She did most of the work on 15 of them, so she's really done an amazing job. So before I get tired thinking about all of her achievements, I would like to have the honor of hooding her. Okay, take off. Yes. This is always tricky when you're short. Oh, stand up. All right, and now I would like to introduce my colleague, Kate Wilbur, who will be introducing our next PhD recipient.
Haley Brienne Gallo.
So thank you, Liz, and hello and congratulations to all of you graduates. We are so proud of you and so excited about the promise you bring to this really important field. It's my honor to introduce you to Dr. Haley Gallo. It's wonderful to say Dr. Haley Gallo. Haley is an extraordinary young woman. She exemplifies the excellence that we look for in our students, academic excellence. And then Haley's also had an incredible impact already on the field in her short career. So as you've heard, we expect people who graduate with a PhD to integrate an interdisciplinary core of knowledge in a variety of areas, and then focus their research with that interdisciplinary background. And Haley's focused her research on the organization, delivery, and financing of long-term services and supports, which is a hugely important and challenging area, especially for vulnerable older adults. So I just want to give you a few quick highlights in what she's already been able to accomplish. First, she took on a project and took major responsibility for something the Board of Supervisors asked for, which was Easy Right, reorganize the services in the County of Los Angeles for the 1 million older people who, not 100 million, who live here. Haley won a highly competitive scholarship with GSA that took her to Washington, where she worked on the reauthorization of GSA, the Gerontological Society of America. She worked on the reauthorization of the Older Americans Act. She networked. She met a lot of policy people, including her soon-to-be husband. So that was another outcome. She worked for a national consulting firm doing state Medicaid policy. She was asked to give a webinar on her research by the state of California because she was working with them on the research. And it was so successful that then she was asked to give a series of talks because she's really able to take complex concepts and make them very understandable for a broad audience. And then finally, she wrapped up this just 5 years or so with teaching a policy course in gerontology and acing that, and some of you might have been in that. So let me say, Haley is lovely and collaborative, and she's calmly fearless. And now she's ready to embark on her next adventure. She's had multiple job offers, I'm excited to say, but she's starting to work with a health policy and aging program for Mathematica. Mathematica is a premier international policy research consulting firm. So please help me congratulate and welcome Dr. Haley Gallo. Over here. And now I would like to introduce my colleague, Jennifer Alshire, who will be presenting the next doctoral student.
Yu Jin Zhou.
Can you stand on the other side of me?
Unfortunately, Eugene's mentor, Dr. Jessica Ho, could not be here today, and so she asked me to communicate her comments to you all in her place. But it is my great pleasure to introduce Eugene Franco. Over the course of her graduate studies, Eugene has made tremendous progress in her development as a scholar. And Jessica says she's very proud to have been a part of your PhD journey, but really, Eugene, all of us have been proud to be a part of your journey. Eugene's dissertation makes several contributions to the scientific literature on health inequalities and cognitive functioning. In her first chapter of her dissertation, Eugene documented that there are large racial and ethnic differences in self-rated memory, which is an early indicator of cognitive decline and the potential onset of dementia. She found that Black and Hispanic older adults are significantly more likely to report poor self-rated memory compared with non-Hispanic white adults, even after controlling for important factors like socioeconomic status and health status. In her second chapter, Eugene demonstrated that older adults with multimorbidity, so multiple chronic conditions and diseases, were significantly worse off in terms of their self-rated memory. And in her third and final chapter, she examined gender differences and the increased mortality risk associated with cognitive impairment, and how this is shaped by factors like educational attainment, health behaviors, and chronic conditions. And these findings have important implications for individuals and their families, researchers, and policymakers working in the field of health and aging. A particular strength of her dissertation work is the use of large, nationally representative longitudinal surveys of aging to produce this new knowledge. And in addition to her dissertation work, she published a paper that documents the growing urban-rural disparity in mortality from Alzheimer's disease and its related dementias. Together with her colleague, Eun-Young Choi, who you saw a moment ago, she also published on how limited English proficiency played a role in the high rates of undiagnosed dementia among immigrants in the United States. It's clear that Eugene has done terrific work as a doctoral student and that she has a very bright future ahead of her. Jessica wants to congratulate you, and please join me as well in congratulating Dr. Eugene Franco. I didn't think this person needed an introduction, but I would like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Eileen Crimmins.
Thank you. Haewon? And I would like to introduce Haewon Kang. Let's begin. She persisted. If you want to hear how hard it is to get a degree, in the beginning, early in her career, Jennifer and I were both on her committee. We were supposed to be meeting in the morning one day, and she came in, and she was in labor with her first child. And she didn't want to leave. She wanted the meeting to occur. And we were arguing with her. Well, then eventually the guy with the green robe stripes came along, who's an MD, and told her to leave. You did. Downstairs in the vestibule of our building. So she went and had her first child, which was quite incredible. But then she had 2 more children, successfully, lovely children, whom she mothered through the pandemic and through her dissertation. If you don't think that's hard, I can't imagine what. You deserve a round of applause for that. So now let's get on to her research. I think it's the perfect topic for somebody in gerontology. She studied who's most likely to get shingles and who's most likely to get shingles vaccine, which is a topic that integrates all the fields that are important to us in gerontology. She found out people's networks were important, how often you dealt with family and friends, and whether those people actually got vaccinated themselves was important. The stresses and strains that you were under psychologically were also a risk for you to get shingles. Your biology, whether you were a fast ager or a slow ager, in terms of your biological state, was highly related to your likelihood of getting shingles. And now on to the vaccine, which wasn't even a topic when she started this. People who have shingles vaccine, of course, are much less likely to get shingles, which you all should take to heart. If you don't learn anything else today and you're an older person, go get yourself that vaccine. But we learned that there are certain groups you might want to target, certain places people live, and certain medical systems that people have access to, and the kinds of interactions they have is very important in determining who actually ends up with a shingles vaccine, which is in itself very important to whether you actually get shingles, which has terrible effects for those who are aging and is an unnecessary disease to actually have in this day and age. So her work has been very path-breaking and important, and she's on her way now to be a postdoc at the Georgia Institute of Technology. And we congratulate Hewan for a wonderful career here. And now I want to have Kelvin Davis come back to talk about the other set of PhD degrees that we're giving.
Thanks, Eileen. I'm going to introduce the doctoral program in the biology of aging. This program is designed for students who want to become leaders in geroscience and biogerontology. The focus is on molecular, cellular, and regenerative medicine, as well as the integrated biology of aging. This unique doctoral program, the first of its kind in the field, brings together two world-renowned institutions, the USC Leonard Davis School of Gerontology and the Buck Institute for Research on Aging in Northern California. Students' academic research activities take place on both the southern and northern campuses, and students can choose a mentor and a PhD faculty committee from either the Buck Center or USC, or actually a combination of both. PhD candidates take core courses on the molecular and cellular biology of aging and age-related diseases, and then select a specialty among molecular and cellular biology, stem cell and regenerative sciences, the neurosciences, including Alzheimer's, dementias, and other memory issues, biomedical sciences, healthy aging, disease prevention, stress adaptation and resistance, longevity, and mechanisms of aging. It's now my great pleasure to introduce Professor Sean Curran, who's now taking over as director of the Biology of Aging PhD program, who will hood our first candidate today. Sean?
Tyler Allen Winnicott Tilsabek.
So I'm actually filling in for two of our colleagues who are up at the Buck Institute for Aging Research. The first is Dr. Pankaj Kapahi, and his first PhD student is Tyler Hilsbeck. Come on over. So PK actually sent me an email to share some words about Tyler. So first, it's a true honor to introduce Tyler for his hooding today. I've cherished the collaboration that I've had with Tyler over the past 5 years. And I intentionally call it a collaboration because it was less of a student-mentor relationship and more of a peer-peer interaction throughout his entire 5 years. Tyler came with a unique strength and computational skills, and he leveraged this, as well as many innovative techniques, to ask really new and exciting questions in Drosophila melanogaster, fruit flies, in order to study aging. Tyler conducted his analysis, which resulted in 3 publications, And many of these were really exciting for the field and actually asked new questions that no one had addressed before. Two of them include, what are the genetic variants that influence mortality, late life mortality, and early mortality in an individual? And are there genetic variants that can influence stochasticity in those survival of those individuals? The results of Tyler's work have allowed us to test new and complex ideas and look for specific aspects of mortality among populations. It's also further established the importance of looking at natural genetic variation, a key concept that is gaining speed amongst multiple fields. He's really created an excellent body of work, and other scientists have really commented about how innovative it was. At a personal level, Tyler is a joy to have in the lab, and he's really been the glue. He thinks he'll most often miss seeing how many people flock to Tyler's bench, because really he was the go-to person to answer questions about bioinformatics and statistics. He has a really good taste in snacks and treats that he generously shares with the lab, and he's going to really miss the hours that he spent chatting with him, talking about new ideas and where the field was actually going. I've learned that Tyler's actually going to continue studying biogerontology, moving right next door to Judy Campisi's lab, where he'll be looking at cellular senescence. So please join me in congratulating Tyler. And for my next act,
Courtney Hudson Paz.
For my next act, I'll be playing the role of Dr. Jennifer Garrison. So Jennifer also sent me some words to share about Courtney. So Courtney Hudson is the very first graduate student to graduate from the Garrison Lab ever. She joined the lab in 2015 as a technician, straight out of her undergraduate training at UC Santa Barbara, and she entered the USC Buck Biology of Aging PhD program in 2016. And she chose Jennifer's lab to stay for her dissertation work. To say that her choice was brave is an enormous understatement. Not only did she join a brand new PhD program, but she took a huge risk on a junior PI as the very first student in that lab. She then had the courage to take on a wildly ambitious and far-reaching project that took her on a journey of ups and downs, challenges and triumphs, and brought her here today. Beyond her diligence and willingness to learn new things and explore new areas of science, Courtney made my lab a better place by being there. She is a thoughtful colleague, she's a patient teacher, and she takes time to teach her lab mates, but also goes out of her way to find opportunities to teach science to young people as well. She brought beautiful poetry, art, and cookies to the lab, and although she had to take a hiatus the past few years, she can tell you that she is an excellent karaoke singer. We won't make her do it today. Courtney, I'm so disappointed that I cannot be there in person to say these words and hooding you as my first lab member to earn your PhD. This is really such an incredible moment for you and your family, but hopefully Sean's doing a pretty good job impersonating me. Seriously though, I know the special challenges of the first student in the lab can face. It's been an honor and a privilege to watch you stretch yourself beyond what you thought your limits were, and to make strides among struggles and to get back up from any of those stumbles. And you've really grown into a formidable, badass scientist and a role model that you are today. Importantly, I know that you're going to pay it forward to future young female scientists that are coming up in the pipeline. You've accomplished something truly remarkable, and what's even more impressive, you've done it under some profoundly challenging conditions. Keeping experiments going and writing a dissertation while living through a global pandemic is nothing short of amazing. Resiliency is a word that has been thrown around a lot lately, and let me say this, you are the embodiment of what it means to be resilient. You should be so proud of everything that you've achieved. I certainly am. Congratulations from the bottom of my heart. I can't wait to see how you make your mark on the world. It's now my privilege to introduce Dr. Michael Bonaguidi.
So I wasn't told that we were, as faculty, actually going to be talking about our PhD students. So I didn't have anything pre-prepared, so I'm just going to speak from my heart. So a recent conversation with one of our collaborators, the students said, oh my gosh, we get to work with Albina. I said, what do you mean? She goes, oh, she's the best, she's a machine. I said, what's a machine? Like, we're talking about people here. And the student went on to explain, oh my gosh, her work is incredible. She's won so many awards. She works incredibly with all the other students in the lab. She's just perfect. And I said, well, good, because I've got to experience this for the last 5 years. So Albina's, like you heard last time, my first PhD student in the lab, of course, took a huge gamble. How has it paid off for me? She has established the lab, and in that regard, studied a question that's very near and dear to a lot of us. We get older, we lose our learning and memory, and in part, this is actually due to the loss of new neurons and stem cells in the brain. And so what Albina has studied is, how does that happen? And in the process of doing that, she published a breakthrough. In the stem cell field, the top journal is Cell Stem Cell. That's where she published. And that's where her second study is being submitted as well. Within gerontology, there's this American Federation of Aging Research. It's one of the top places to get an award from, and she got it. When it comes to the lab and teaching students, she's basically set up her own small army in the lab, training undergraduates, master students, junior PhD students. And just to top that all off, she basically has to put a PhD together. Well, she does that while she's out on maternity leave. And they're here today, which is amazing. So I could go on and on and on, but I'm just going to say that it's been an absolute pleasure to have Albina in the lab. She's going to go on to do amazing things. She already has done amazing things, so congratulations. Now I get to introduce Professor Walter Longo.
Flor Marie Lobo.
So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Flor Lobo. Flor comes from India and has been in my lab for now 5 years, and she is focused on neurodegenerative diseases and has had 2 major projects in mice mostly, but I'll tell you also about the clinical trial that started thanks to the work that Flor did. And so by the time we get to 90 years of age, about half of the people will have some form of dementia. So it's a very scary disease, and the drugs have, most of the drugs, or virtually all drugs so far, have failed, and potentially they failed because they act at the very last point of the disease. So they try, there's something called beta amyloid or tau, and these drugs are trying to target these proteins and peptides that accumulate in the brain. But now we know that diabetes having diabetes doubles the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. So is it possible that intervening by reprogramming the entire body is going to be more effective, or is going to help eventually drugs that are developed that target certain, the production of these peptides that I just told you about? So Fleur took on our major project which is just been accepted by one of the leading journals, Cell Reports, is being on Alzheimer's disease. And in this, she used something we call fasting mimicking diet. So the idea is if the body is starved, we believe that starvation refeeding cycles represented a very ancient way to sort of clear up junk and substitute damaged cells and damaged components with new ones. So she took on, she worked on what we call fasting mimicking diets. And what happens in mice that are genetically engineered to develop a dementia, in 2 different mice, what happens if you give these cycles of a fasting mimicking diet followed by a normal diet, and this revolutionizes really the brain metabolism. For example, the brain normally functions mostly on glucose and sugar, and when you do this, now the ketone bodies, these fat breakdown products, are elevated, and the neurons and lots of cells in the brain started working in a completely different modality. So she showed that if you act with this fasting mimicking diet, the stem cells, the neural stem cells are elevated, and the process in the brain is called neuroinflammation. So there is, the brain is trying to fight an infection, essentially, that doesn't exist. And this could be because of these peptides that accumulate in the brain. And so she showed that this neuroinflammation is drastically decreased by the fasting mimicking diet cycles. The memory improves, and so probably by a combination of the stem cells that are naturally regenerating and the neuroinflammatory effects, the mice do a lot better. And this was essential to start a clinical trial a couple of years ago in Italy, and now so far 30 patients with Alzheimer's disease have been tested with the same fasting mimicking diet. Is looking very promising. And so we hope, we don't have the cognitive data yet, so we don't know, are they doing better? But we are hopeful that by reprogramming brain metabolism, we can achieve something that the drugs so far haven't achieved. And our second project is on Parkinson's disease. She's still working on it, similar facts, but she still has some time to go. She's going to spend some time in the lab to finish up what she's doing. But overall, she's a great person. She's done great work. And congratulations, Dr. Lobo. And I want to introduce Dr. Anderson, which also the co-mentor for Fleur's thesis, and Dr. Anderson comes from the Buck Institute.
Mina Schmidt.
So, Mina. What can I say about Mina? Mina came to my lab about 7 years ago. She has an honors degree in chemistry from Brandeis, master's degree in chemistry. Never done any wet lab, and because of a personal connection, got very interested in Parkinson's disease. And I think it's a good example of someone who really followed their heart and really decided what they wanted to do and succeeded. So at the time Mina came to me, I unfortunately didn't have funds to pay for a technician in lab. Mina worked for a year as a volunteer in the lab. Did some drug screening in the lab that ultimately has led to a body of work that is that's being submitted for publication, and she was the one who really initiated that work. She subsequently applied to and was accepted into the joint USC-Buck PhD program, which has been a wonderful collaboration. I have to say I actually started my career at USC gerontology almost 30 years ago, and then for personal reasons, getting married, I moved up to the Buck Institute. Mina's work is really towards studying Parkinson's disease, and interestingly, her thesis was studying it in this little nematode worm called C. elegans, and it was studying exercise in this worm. And you sort of think, well, that sounds crazy. But it turns out that a lot of the mechanisms that are involved in aging in these little invertebrates also are things that play a role in aging in humans. And so Mina spent many hours training these worms to swim, exercising the worms. And she was looking in a worm model of Parkinson's disease that expressed this protein that's found in aggregates within the brains of Parkinson's patients called alpha-synuclein. And she found that exercising these worms, she could rid them of the alpha-synuclein. And yes, you can look at motor movement in worms during swim, and she was able to show that this improved their motor movement long term. And I can't tell you what a delight it's been to have Mina in lab. She's relentlessly cheerful. She completely inventive ideas, so hardworking. We were talking back at the gerontology school, and she was talking about how she dreams about doing experiments in her sleep. So committed. Such a wonderful teacher, such a joy to have in lab, and I just can't tell you how proud I am of you.
So in addition to the two first-of-their-kind, best-in-the-world PhD programs that we have internally, our fantastic faculty attracts students from other parts of the university. And some of those are graduating today in what we call the affiliated PhD group. And the first amongst them is Brendan Miller, who worked in my lab for the last 5 years. Brendan is here somewhere.
Brendan Miller.
So over the last 30 years, I trained many dozens of mentees, some of which have become faculty, including a few over here, full professors, department chairmen, industry executives. Brendan is poised to eclipse all of them. He came to my lab as a neuroscience student, summa cum laude ASU grad, and declared an interest in exploring the role of mitochondria in Alzheimer's disease. Over the 5 years that followed, Brendan has published 17 outstanding papers, has several more in review. This is a record that far exceeds most assistant professors. His contributions to geoscience go far beyond the specific discoveries that he's made. He's been recognized, in fact, just yesterday with the Order of Arete Prize. I think I read in the program that there's another prize coming, but we'll see. But what Brendan has done goes beyond specific discoveries. He's created a revolutionary bioinformatic infrastructure for analyzing a new class of molecules known as microproteins. And he is in the middle of publishing a paper on one of these first microproteins that he discovered that he got to name. Not everybody gets to name their own gene. This one is called Shmooze. It's one, I'm sure, of many, many that Brendan will be able to list on his resume. Shmooze is poised to have diagnostic and potentially therapeutic roles in Alzheimer's disease. And there's going to be many more important discoveries. Brendan is heading off to hopefully a brief postdoc at the Salk Institute in a leading microprotein lab, where I'm really hoping he'll have a chance to also work on his golf game. and after that, to a faculty position somewhere else. So Brendan and his parents, who I had the pleasure of meeting the other day, congratulations. It's been a real honor to work with you, and good luck. And next is Jennifer.
Thank you all for bearing with us. These students spend several years with us, and they change and impact our lives as much as we do theirs. So thank you for indulging us this. This is our last student. So Emily Sermon is one of the first students to get a PhD in our Population Health and Place PhD program here at USC through the Spatial Sciences Institute. And a few years ago, she showed up in my office looking for a dissertation advisor, and she talked to me about work she had been doing with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, modeling influenza timing and severity across US influenza seasons using humidity. And I wondered how we could insert some population dynamics perspective into this humidity model. I'm sure she was asking herself the same questions, and how I could enhance her training. But I thought the topic was fascinating. I was so impressed by the depth of her knowledge of the subject as such a young student, and I could see the obvious implications of influenza for older adult health. And the scientific enterprise is nothing if not a leap of faith. And sometimes those leaps really pay off. Emily, I have enjoyed working with you over the years. You've made such important contributions to my own research on the impact of heat on our aging population, and I've enjoyed watching your dissertation develop. So she's already published the first chapter of her dissertation, which was that humidity influenza model with her colleagues at JPL. And then we spent the next several years working on that population dynamics component because Emily knew that it can't just be about humidity, but that population susceptibility, like age, also must play a real key role in both the timing of the onset of our influenza season each year and the severity that it has on our population. So with an award from the graduate school, she obtained data on hospital visits and admissions with influenza from several states. And she was able to show in one of her chapters that some people in our communities bear a disproportionate impact of influenza, including Latino, Black, and older Native Americans. And she was able to find this across most age ranges and even after accounting for other characteristics like socioeconomic factors. We still puzzled over how we could make a connection between humidity science and population science, but she was able to successfully do that in her third chapter. She took 2 locations that had the same humidity profile and was able to show that there was still differences in the timing of the onset and the severity of influenza, and that she could attribute that to susceptibility factors in the population like age, race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status. I think more than ever, it's become clear how important our infectious disease prediction models are, and I expect that the value of her work will extend far beyond influenza to other highly transmissible infectious diseases. And I know she'll continue to make important contributions in this area. So please join me in congratulating Dr. Emily Sermon. And now my colleague, Dr. Sean Curran, will present the Osterberg Prize.
So as if graduating wasn't enough, we like to acknowledge excellence when it comes to the school. And so to save time, I'm going to have Brendan Miller come up now. Normally this award is presented by my colleague Caleb Finch, who couldn't be here today. The Heinz Osterberg Prize is named after his lab manager, who worked for him for 3 decades, from 1975 to 2005, and retired after he developed heart disease. He was a fantastic chemist and was a mentor to numerous students and postdocs and others that went through Dr. Finch's lab. The awarding of this prize is always given to an outstanding PhD student. It alternates between the biological sciences and the social sciences each year. This year it's being awarded to a biologist. The awarding this year is a little bittersweet. We learned that Heinz passed away on April 6th, but his spouse of 65 years and their caregiver is watching this live stream, so I think they will appreciate this. But I won't repeat all of the amazing things that Dr. Brendan Miller has done. I think Hasi did a great job, but I had the privilege of watching his dissertation defense, which was truly brilliant, and I think Heinz would have completely agreed with the awarding of this prize in his name to Dr. Brendan Miller. And if you were paying attention, if you listen to all of the titles of the dissertations that were given today, they range a broad spectrum of topics. In fact, all of the faculty here in the School of Gerontology have joint appointments throughout the university. Brendan is one example of a PhD student whose degree is actually in neuroscience, although he did all of his PhD training in Dr. Cohen's lab here in the School of Gerontology. And so each year we award an outstanding affiliated PhD prize, and for the same reasons we've talked about earlier, this year it was unanimously given to Dr. Brendan Miller. I now turn it back over to Dean Cohen to award a couple more awards to our graduates.
So I believe that Eric Wang can't be here today, but he received an undergraduate student award. So congratulations, Eric. We then have a master's student award that's going to Zoriana Benhama. We also have a doctoral student award, which is going to go to Yun Yang Choi. Everything you've heard must have been true. Congratulations. And finally, we're giving an award to the faculty, which is actually co-selected by the Gerontology Student Association. And this year, the awardee for the faculty award is Caroline Cicero. And I guess I missed Haley Gallo, Teaching Assistant Award. So this basically is the end. I do want to say a couple more things. John, who was our banner carrier today, was walking into the building, and there was some food being set up, and an inquisitive young lady who was among the food server there came over to him and said, "What is gerontology?" It was on the building name. And John politely explained that it's the science of aging. And you're all going out there, and people are going to ask you that, what is gerontology? And your job is to be our ambassadors, to explain to people what we do, and then go do it, and make us proud, keep in touch, follow us on social media, donate to our funds. At least a dozen of you are going to become multimillionaire and should have endowed chairs named after you. So, right, David? And I want to thank especially all the parents who came here today. I really know how proud you are. So final thing is, the graduates should have had the tassel on the right. You can now move it to the left, and you're all now officially graduated. Thank you. Fight on. Please enjoy the refreshments in the back and keep yourself hydrated. I know how hot it is, and I really need a glass of water.